You're lying in bed, thumb already scrolling, eyes half open, chest slightly tight. You feel groggy, unmotivated, behind, yet you tell yourself, "I'm just waking up. This helps me ease into the day." That's the lie. What you're actually doing is handing your nervous system over to chaos before your feet even hit the floor. Notifications, other people's lives, manufactured urgency. You don't start the day attacks you. And by the time you finally stand up, your brain is already overstimulated, dopamine spiked, and quietly exhausted. Here's the brutal truth. This one small habit is sabotaging your focus, your mood, and your self-respect. Not because you're lazy, but because you've trained your brain to crave cheap stimulation instead of internal control. You think the phone is harmless. It isn't. It's conditioning you to live in reaction mode. Welcome to the Psych Hub, where we decode the psychology of habits you defend but secretly hate about yourself. Today, we're exposing the psychology of early morning dopamine and the 5 replacements that can rewire your brain in 2026. These aren't motivational tips, they're neurological leverage points. 5 truths, 5 behavioral shifts. And if you miss the first one, the rest won't matter. Point number 1. The surface symptom. You wake up and reach for your phone before you even sit up, not because you need to, but because your body already decided for you. Thumb unlocks, apps open, you don't remember choosing any of it. That's the first clue. From the outside, it looks harmless, a quick scroll, a few messages, some headlines, but look closer, Sherlock close, and you'll notice something disturbing. Your breathing is shallow, your jaw is tense, and your attention is fractured before the day has even begun. You haven't entered the day, you've been injected into it. Here's the harsh truth. This habit is weak, not morally, neurologically. You're outsourcing the first dopamine hit of your day to an algorithm designed to hijack you. That tells your brain one thing loud and clear. External stimulation comes before internal agency. And once that message is sent, motivation collapses. You spend the rest of the day chasing focus instead of commanding it. Psychologically, this is a classic dopamine priming loop. High novelty plus 0 effort equals instant dopamine. The problem, dopamine isn't pleasure, it's pursuit. When you spike it too early, your brain downregulates sensitivity. Ordinary tasks, work, movement, thinking, feel dull, heavy, almost painful. So you reach for more stimulation, and the cycle tightens. Your phone in the morning doesn't relax you, it paralyzes you. The fix is not discipline. Discipline is fragile in the morning. The fix is environmental control. Command: do not touch your phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. No exceptions. Put it in another room. Use an analog alarm. If your brain panics, good. That's the addiction leaving your system. Replace the urge with light exposure. Open the curtains. Step onto the balcony. Let natural light hit your eyes. This anchors your circadian rhythm and tells your brain, we're awake and in control. But here's what most people don't expect. When you stop the morning scroll, something uncomfortable surfaces. A quiet, a restlessness, a feeling you've been avoiding. And that discomfort, that's exactly where point number 2 begins. Point number 2, the social relational symptom. Watch how you interact with people before noon. Your responses are quicker, flatter, more performative. You laugh on cue. You nod while half listening. You check your phone mid-conversation without realizing it. That's not multitasking. That's social disconnection disguised as normal behavior. Here's the brutal truth. Your early morning dopamine hijack doesn't just wreck your focus, it cheapens your presence. When your brain starts the day overstimulated, it loses tolerance for real human interaction. Real people are slower than feeds, less predictable, less validating. So you compensate, you perform instead of connect. Psychologically, this is a threat regulation issue. Your nervous system is already activated before your first interaction, so it scans for approval, status, and safety. That's why you people please. That's why you over-explain. That's why silence feels awkward instead of neutral. You're not being yourself, you're managing anxiety in real time. This creates a subtle but corrosive pattern. Others feel you're there but not grounded, polite but not solid, responsive but not anchored. Over time, this erodes respect, not because people are cruel, but because humans trust calm, regulated presence, and dopamine-fried brains don't feel safe to be around. The fix is not better social skills, it's nervous system regulation before social exposure. Command: before speaking to anyone in the morning, move your body for 5 minutes. Stretch, walk, breathe deeply, slow inhale through the nose, long exhale through the mouth. This pumps oxygen to the brain and shifts you out of threat mode. Then drink a full glass of water. Not coffee, water. Hydration stabilizes cortisol and reduces irritability more than motivation quotes ever will. This sequence, movement, breath, water, restores internal pacing. You stop rushing energy outward to be liked. You start occupying space naturally. But here's the uncomfortable link most people miss. The need to be socially on so early in the day isn't confidence, it's compensation. And compensation always points to something deeper, a quiet insecurity you learned long before smartphones ever existed. That's where point number 3 gets personal. Point 3. The deep insecurity, early conditioning. Notice what happens when the morning is quiet. No phone, no noise, no one to react to. Your body gets restless. Your mind searches for something, anything to latch onto. That discomfort isn't boredom, it's memory. Here's the hard truth most people avoid. You didn't learn to reach for stimulation because of technology. Technology just gave shape to an older wound. Many of you grew up in environments where being still wasn't safe, where attention had to be earned, where silence meant neglect, tension, or emotional unpredictability. So your nervous system adapted. It learned vigilance. It learned to scan. It learned to stay slightly activated, just in case. Fast forward to adulthood, and that same system mistakes calm for danger. The phone becomes a pacifier, a shield, a way to avoid the feeling of being alone with yourself. Psychologically, this is conditioning plus identity. Your brain linked self-worth to responsiveness. If you're alert, available, reacting, you're valuable. If you're slow, quiet, inward, you're at risk. That belief is outdated, but your body doesn't know that yet. Here's the counterintuitive truth. Your productivity issues are not about ambition, they're about safety. A dysregulated nervous system can't prioritize long-term goals. It defaults to short-term relief. Dopamine isn't pleasure here, it's anesthesia. The solution is not forced calm. Forced calm feels like punishment to a hypervigilant system. Command: create a predictable, low-stimulation morning ritual and repeat it daily. Same order, same timing, light exposure, water, gentle movement. Make your bed slowly, not perfectly, intentionally. Why making the bed? Because it completes a cycle, start to finish, no evaluation, no audience. This builds momentum, but more importantly, it teaches your nervous system something radical. Nothing bad happens when I'm present. At first, this will feel pointless. That's withdrawal talking. But here's the hidden cost most people never calculate. If you don't retrain this pattern, you'll keep using stimulation to outrun discomfort, and eventually you'll outrun depth. And that avoidance? It quietly sets up the self-sabotage in point number 4. Point number 4. The self-sabotage mechanism. By mid-morning, you tell yourself a familiar story. I'll start after one more thing, one more check, one more video, one more hit of novelty. From the outside, it looks like procrastination. From the inside, it feels strategic, controlled, almost smart. It's neither. This is self-sabotage wearing the mask of preparation. Here's the brutal truth. When you flood your brain with stimulation early, you destroy your tolerance for friction. Real progress, deep work, creative thinking, disciplined action requires discomfort, slowness, imperfect momentum, and your brain, already dopamine saturated, rejects that state like a spoiled child. Psychologically, this is avoidance reinforced by relief. Every time you delay, anxiety drops slightly. Your brain logs that as a win. Over time, it learns that not starting is safer than risking failure, judgment, or internal doubt. So you stay busy, planning, optimizing, consuming, performing productivity instead of producing it. This is where the damage compounds. You don't just lose time, you lose trust in yourself. Each delay becomes evidence. See, I never follow through. That belief hardens into identity, and identities are harder to break than habits. The fix is not motivation. Motivation is unreliable and reactive. The fix is deliberate friction. Command: choose one small non-negotiable task and complete it before consuming anything stimulating. No phone, no music, no background noise. 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. This is why making the bed matters. It's not about cleanliness. It's about proving to your brain daily that action comes before stimulation, effort before reward, cause before effect. You will feel resistance. That's expected. Resistance means you're interrupting the loop. But here's the part no one warns you about. When self-sabotage fades, excuses disappear with it. And without excuses, there's nowhere left to hide. Which brings us to the final and most uncomfortable truth, the one your entire morning routine has been avoiding. That truth lives in point number 5. Point 5. The ultimate truth. Core mindset. Here's the revelation most people never reach, because reaching it removes their favorite excuse. You don't check your phone in the morning because you lack discipline. You do it because you're afraid of directing your own life. That sounds harsh. It is. And it's also liberating. When you start the day reacting, scrolling, consuming, responding, you're avoiding a heavier responsibility. Choice. Choice means ownership. Ownership means failure is personal. So your brain does something clever. It floods itself with noise to stay unfocused enough to say, I never really had a chance. That's the illusion. Psychologically, this is learned passivity disguised as modern life. Your dopamine system isn't broken, it's obedient. You trained it to expect instruction from the outside. Notifications tell you what matters. Feeds tell you what to feel. Algorithms tell you what to want. And slowly, quietly, your internal compass atrophies. This is why silence feels threatening. Silence asks a question your nervous system has been avoiding. What will you choose if no one tells you what to do? Here's how everything connects. Early dopamine spikes weaken focus. Weakened focus erodes presence. Eroded presence fuels insecurity. Insecurity drives avoidance. Avoidance creates self-sabotage. And beneath it all is a single belief: if I don't react fast enough, I'll fall behind. That belief is false. The truth is this: the people who move forward fastest are the least reactive. They decide before the world interrupts them. The solution is a mindset shift, not a hack. Reframe your morning as identity training, not productivity. Every action is a vote. Phone first means I am reactive. Light, water, movement, completion means I am directed. Your brain doesn't need more stimulation, it needs proof of leadership. So here's the command that changes everything. Do not ask how to feel in the morning. Decide who you are. Once you do that, motivation stops being a problem, because motivation was never the issue. Avoidance was. And now that you see it, you don't get to unsee it. If you've been paying attention, this was never about phones. It was about who holds the steering wheel of your day. You started in reaction, tired, overstimulated, quietly behind. And now you see the pattern. Early dopamine trained your brain to chase, not choose. It fractured your focus, diluted your presence, fed old insecurities, and disguised self-sabotage as normal mornings. But here's the shift. When you delay stimulation, you reclaim authority. Light before screens, water before caffeine, movement before messages, completion before consumption. That sequence doesn't just wake you up, it teaches your nervous system to trust you. And trust is everything. Because the real danger isn't distraction. It's living a life where nothing is deliberately chosen. So remember this: the first 30 minutes of your day are a vote for the person you're becoming. Don't waste that vote. Don't just watch this video and nod along. Change something tomorrow morning. One behavior, one decision, one moment of leadership. And if you're ready to stop being managed by impulses and start building psychological strength, subscribe to the Psych Hub. We don't offer comfort, we offer clarity.